I will call upon the Honourable Member for Strathcona-Sherwood Park and the Minister of Service, Alberta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to rise and to deliver my maiden speech in this House. Before I begin, I just want to say thank you to the voters of Strathcona-Sherwood Park for your support during the recent election. You have placed an enormous amount of trust in me and in this government, and I want you to know that I am here to fight for you, and our government is here to fight for all Albertans. I also want to thank my family and my friends who supported me on this journey to the legislature, and thank you also to the many volunteers who worked so hard and sacrificed so much to help make this dream a reality. I won't let you down. I would also like to say thank you to the previous representative of Strathcona-Sherwood Park, former member Estefania Cortes Vargas. Thank you for your service over the past 4 years. And thank you to all of the candidates who put their names forward in the last election. Albert Harris, Larry McLeese, Don Mellinson, Dave Quest, Richard Cinta, and Maura Vanier. I respect their courage to participate in the democratic process. Running for public office is challenging, demanding, and requires great sacrifice. I commend them for their dedication and for their well-run campaigns. Speaking of congratulations, Mr. Speaker, every member elected to this legislature deserves strong congratulations. We will disagree at times, but I do look forward to our debates. At the end of the day, I think we can all agree that we are here because we want to create a better Alberta for all Albertans. We just have some different ideas on how to get there. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me if I didn't offer you my congratulations on your election earlier in May. Mr. Speaker, I have to admit that my journey to becoming an MLA almost didn't happen. You see, when I first approached my wife, Allison, back in the summer of 2015, to suggest that I was thinking of putting my name forward to run in this past election, I believe her first words were something to the effect of, "That's a hard pass." Not even joking. But Mr. Speaker, my wife and I, we will celebrate our 11th anniversary this July, and we have been together for almost 13 years. And in that time, I have learned that you can't make any big life decisions without the full support and buy-in of your partner. And as far as big decisions go, running for office in Alberta has to be near the top of the list. Despite my wife's initial reservations, thankfully over time, she warmed to the idea and eventually gave me the green light. So I would like to take this opportunity through you, Mr. Speaker, to say thank you to my beautiful wife, Allison. She has been by my side through many ups and downs. I also know that she has my back and that she'll be there for me in good times and bad. She is by every measure my better half. Which is why I'm also excited to share with you, Mr. Speaker, and with everyone in this chamber, a little good news. My wife and I are expecting our first child this September, just a few short months away. Thank you. We are having a boy, Mr. Speaker, and I can't wait to meet my son this fall. We have nicknamed him TH, which is short for tiny human. But he's definitely big enough now that I can feel when he kicks, and that's really something special. You see, Mr. Speaker, I've wanted to be a dad for a very long time. Sure. My wife and I have been trying for quite some time to start a family, but sometimes life throws you a curveball along the way. Did you know, Mr. Speaker, that 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in a loss? I didn't until recently. I learned that statistic when my wife and I lost our first pregnancy a little over a year ago. We are the 1 in 4. And I share that with you, Mr. Speaker, because I know that many Albertans have experienced this pain, and my message to them is you are not alone. Mr. Speaker, I can't talk about my family without also talking about my parents and my in-laws. I'd like to thank Allison's parents, Kevin and Gail Stone, for welcoming me into their lives. I'm so grateful for their support in this new role and for the support they provide to my wife when I'm working long hours in the legislature. I also want to thank my parents, Brian and Terry Glubish, for their unconditional love and support. They've taught me so much and have set a great example that I can only hope to live up to with my son. Mr. Speaker, talking about my parents reminds me of a story about my dad when I was studying at the University of Saskatchewan. As I was working through my third and fourth year finance courses, I often had to work long hours. And my dad shared with me one of his favorite quotes. It was from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who said, "The heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards in the night." This quote was an inspiration to my dad for many years throughout his career, and it has been an inspiration to me ever since those university days over 15 years ago. Mr. Speaker, I could go on and tell you about my grandparents on both sides of my family, but perhaps that will have to wait for another day. Suffice to say, I've learned from them and their examples the value of hard work, the joy of a generous spirit, and the importance of a strong family. Mr. Speaker, I know I've spent quite some time talking about family today, and I wanted to do that for a few reasons. Number one, family reminds you of where you come from. Number two, family keeps you grounded. And number three, and probably most importantly, family reminds you of what is most important in life. And so, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to say my family is the most important part of my life, and I just really wanted to share that with my colleagues on both sides of this House, and also with my constituents back home. Speaking of family, I'd like to talk a little bit about my community in Strathcona County, which is, in my opinion, one of the best places in the world to live, to work, and especially to raise a family. Thank you to the member from Sherwood Park for those remarks. My wife and I, we moved to the Sherwood Park area 9 years ago, and we can't imagine living anywhere else. This community has so much to offer, especially to young families. The recreation centers are outstanding. We have access to the best of both urban and rural community offerings. We have a vibrant collection of active community leagues that provide programming for residents of all ages, from Sherwood Park to the far corners of rural Strathcona County. In addition to the rich family-oriented programming and services, Strathcona County offers proximity to an exciting economic engine called the Alberta Industrial Heartland, which a number of members, I believe, in the last couple of weeks have spoken to. The Heartland comprises of land shared by Strathcona County, Fort Saskatchewan, Sturgeon County, Lamont County, and the City of Edmonton. And it represents Canada's largest hydrocarbon processing region with over 40 companies and covering over 533 square kilometers. Some advantages enjoyed by the businesses in the region include a cost-effective, secure supply of oil and gas and petrochemical feedstocks, excellent road, rail, and air infrastructure, access to a skilled and motivated workforce, and access to the fresh water supply of the North Saskatchewan River. Mr. Speaker, the Heartland represents over $40 billion of investment to date, and there are tens of billions of dollars of future opportunities in the region. And I'm very excited, Mr. Speaker, to be able to work with Strathcona County Council and Strathcona County Mayor Rod Frank to create the conditions for long-term economic success. But Mr. Speaker, despite all of this opportunity, Alberta does continue to feel some pain and hardship that has plagued our province over the last number of years. We do face an escalating debt that is at frightening levels. We see high unemployment rates, especially among our youth. We see increasing rates of bankruptcies. We see rising vacancies in the downtown cores of our major cities, and we see rural Alberta communities struggling to survive. Mr. Speaker, I can relate to what the great Canadian singer-songwriter Bruce Cockburn says in his song Lovers in a Dangerous Time. He says, "Nothing worth having comes without some kind of fight. Got to kick at the darkness till it bleeds daylight." Mr. Speaker, those inspirational words push me to move forward in the face of adversity, and maybe to paraphrase in my own words along the lines of Henry Longfellow's quote that I referenced earlier, "I know there's a price, so I will toil in the night. The cost is no concern. I need the world to see that my dream is not fantasy." Mr. Speaker, I want the constituents of Strathcona-Sherwood Park to know that they can count on me to give this job my all, because I dream of an Alberta with endless opportunity. I dream of an Alberta that leads the country in economic growth. I dream of an Alberta that is once again debt-free. I dream of an Alberta that is strong and free. Mr. Speaker, these dreams are not fantasy. They can be a reality, because over the next 4 years, our government will be laser-focused on creating jobs, attracting investment to Alberta, and standing up for our energy industry. I may not be a poet like Longfellow, nor a songwriter like Coburn, but I do dabble from time to time as a hobby musician. So in closing, let me close with a quote from a work in progress from my own repertoire. I know the way to greatness is hard-fought and not for the faint of heart. Still I say, let's go. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.